So coding challenge review. First of all, beginners. I'd like to jump straight away to one of the most controversial questions on beginner, which is question number 4. Is YouTube working, guys?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Cool. So let's review it, Yvonne. Get first available day for booking. So we got an array of days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, whatever. So we want to see the first day that is not Tuesday and not Thursday. So if there is any Monday, return it. If there is any Wednesday, return it. If there is any Friday, return it. But we don't want to return Tuesday and Thursday because they are booked because of whatever reason, right? All right, so let's try again. That doesn't mean that solution is perfect, but let's try. So first of all, my days. I want to return one day. So how can we, if we got a list of elements, how can we identify if one element is part of the list or not? Yvonne? Fine, fantastic, I love it. Let's do fine. Fine, day. So then, look, return day, give me the first day that is Monday, or day that is Wednesday, or day that is Friday, something like that. You see? So if there is any Monday or any Wednesday or any Friday, I'm using capitals, is correct? Yeah, that seems correct. Then return it. Yeah? That doesn't mean that's perfect because look at the last scenario you want. If there are no matching, not available, if there is no any available day, we need to display a friendly message to the user, right? So how can we handle that? Well, we can say that into a variable, let available day equals, and then we can have an if else. If I got any available day, then return it. We'll see how to improve that in a minute. Else, if there is no available day, return the message, whatever it is, right? Sorry, no days available. Sorry, no days available. Something like that. Does it make sense? Let's see if it works. It does work, right? That if else, we can improve that a bit. And again, if you don't really like or don't really understand that, that's fine. To me, this is the most academic approach because it's very explicit. It communicates a lot. However, if I will have to do that, look at what I'll do. Instead of asserting positively, day is Monday, or day is Wednesday, or day is Friday, I can negate the expression. Return day that is not Tuesday. You see the exclamation mark? I'm negating the expression. Should be or and. And. Give me the first day that is not Tuesday and not Thursday. Something like that, right? And again, let's see if it works. After every change, remember to see if it works. If that's the case, then no problem at all. Let's move to the next bit in here. Can we use a ternary operator? Do you remember return the ternary operator? That's part of the beginner's training, right? If I got any available day, then return it. Else, something like that. Yeah? That could be an improved version somehow. Can anyone tell me even an easier way to build that structure? Correct. Richard said return available day, or look at how sexy that structure is. It's my favorite one. If you remember, we covered that a couple of weeks ago on the board challenge, right? The OR operator. If I got any available day, return it. or that means otherwise, just return that, return that thing on the right-hand side. Yeah? Again, I'm not asking you to fully follow that. Yes, you should be comfortable writing code. If you agree that's better, but you don't understand it, don't do it. Don't do it. I prefer you to write more code, more lines, if else. That's fine, no worries. Cool. And then that works. Cool, fantastic. Anything else you want? No, does it make sense? Cool. So now this is part of the find training. So my suggestion is go to the find training and try to do it by yourself. And if you have any problem, let us know. Cool. Cheers, mate. All right. So that was beginners, and now let's have a look to intermediates. Yeah, I'll review it end to end because I want to make sure everyone fully understands that, right? Out of coincidence, the first question is arguably one of the most complicated ones. Actually, I think one of the questions on the expert today, not sure if it was the first or the second, it was probably easier than this one. This thing happened, right? So let's try to understand it. So we got an object with many properties, and we want first of all to extract the numeric properties that visually speaking is clearly 10 pixels and 20 pixels, not block. Yeah? And then we need to extract the number, so 10 and 20, and get the average. What's the average of 10 and 20? 15. Does it make sense? Right. That question is a bit tricky. So, get average pixels, object. Is it object? Well, in reality, look, we're talking about CSS properties, right? Margin, position. So just to improve the semantics, how would you rename that object instead of CSS props? I mean, that's fine, or CSS or CSS object, whatever, yeah? But at least I'm giving some context to the reader. So now, return CSS props. The first thing I really want to do is what? Get the values. I like that. I like that. I'll try to get the values out of every single, get the values. How do we get the values of an object, guys? Object values. Yep, correct. So that will return an array like that. 10 pixels, block, whatever. Yeah? All right. And then what? Once I have the values, I'll do something. And I'm not convinced if that's the best approach or not. I'll try to get the number out of its value. If I got 10 pixels, the number is 10. We agree on that, right? But does anyone know how to get 10 out of 10 pixels? Parsing, fantastic. I love that. Yes, let's do that. So let's use, how can I transform an array into another array of the same size? Map, right? So map, I got CSS value. And then, as you suggested, I can return parse int of CSS value. That means if I receive 10 pixels, I will return 10. But what happens if I receive block? What parsing will return? Correct, not a number. But hey, that's okay for now. So once I got my array of potential numbers, I want to keep only the actual numbers. I want to discard the text. How do we do that? Filter, I love that. Filter, and then I got CSS value, and then, okay, if I got that 10 and hidden, how do I know if a given element is a number or not? Is not a number. Something like that? Why? Vincent, can you explain that?
Basically,
Yep.
That way, you will only filter, you will only basically find the number instead of the strings or objects, whatever.
That's correct. Is not a number will return true if this is not a number. It will keep only hidden, block, but we want to do the opposite. We want to keep only the numeric values. That's why we can negate the expression. Or if you find that pattern a bit advanced, you can do that. If is not a number, it's false. Not is not a number, yeah? Which means it's a number. I'll show you a different way to do that afterwards. First of all, let's make sure it works. All right, and once we got the filter with only, so at that point we got something pretty awesome, right? That's what we got. How do we get the average of 10 and 20? Reduce, fantastic, Nilofer. Reduce what? We get the average, and then we got the, I can call it CSS number already, right? It's just a number. Yeah? And how do we get the average, guys? What do we need to do here? Average plus number. Array.length. Nice, fantastic, fantastic. Very happy you've seen that, right? So with reduce, we can pass a third argument, which is the array resulting out of evaluating that highlighted structure, expression. So anything else? Index, yes, that's correct. In reality, array is the fourth argument. So Anais is right. The third one is the index. That's a classic board challenge in a job interview. They show you that and they tell you why it doesn't work. Oh, because array, it's not obvious, right? Array is the fourth argument, not the third. So we need to pass the index as the third one, even though we don't need it, right? We don't need the index, but still we need to pass it. Can we pass here Brexit? Yes, but not good, right? Cool. Anything else? What's the initial value? 0. That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. Let's, if anyone is still struggling with that structure, let's do my thingy with the iteration. Do you remember? Let's assume that our array is 1 and 3. 1, 2, and 3. What's the average of 1, 2, and 3, guys? You don't feel very convinced, right? Is the average of 1, 2, and 3 79? Probably not, right? It's probably 2. Not probably, I'm 100% sure. So, if that's our input, let's calculate the output. Iteration 1. What's the average? 0, that's correct. What's the number? That's correct. Return. Average 0 plus 1 divided by what? 3. And that returns what? What's 0 plus 1/3, guys? I want everyone to be convinced on that. I'm all right. I have water, I have crisps. I can wait until you give me the answer. I'll make it a bit more complicated. Whoa, look at that. 0 plus 0 plus 1/3. Still 1/3, right? Does it make sense? I'm assuming that makes sense, right? If it doesn't make sense, you can send me a private message on Slack. Right, so it returns 1/3. And then, iteration 2. What's the average? What? 1/3, correct. What's the number? 2. Return what? 2 2 plus 2 plus 1/3. Why 2? Well, first of all, the average, right? So the average is 1/3. Let's respect the order. 1/3 plus 2 divided by 3. Ooh. What's that? 1/3 plus 2/3 is, if I have a pizza with 3 slices. Do you ever think about how pizzas work? So pizzas are a circle, right? Let's think about geometry. A pizza is a circle, but it comes in a square, in a box, and you eat it in slices with that triangle, right? It's very exotic. Think about it. Right. So if I got a pizza with 3/3 and I took 1/3, Nilofer takes 2/3. That was a bit gross. No, let me change the example. If Nilofer takes 1/3 and I take 2/3, it's a bit more gentleman, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Then how many slices of pizza are left? None, right? Cool. Why? Because we eat it all. So what's the result of adding 1/3 plus 2/3? 1, correct. All right, and finally, iteration number 3. What's the average? 1. What's the number? 3, correct. And then return what? 1 plus 3 divided by 3. And that returns what? Who said 3? Right. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Fantastic. Yeah? You got a job at Google. Yes, so that's the way it works, right? And in other words, I think that's the algorithm is correct. So let's see if it works. Still question 1, by the way. It does work. It does work. I think there is a new way to do that. I'm not, yeah, okay, that's fine. I use it, no problem at all. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, now we can do that. Numbers, is that exists? I don't remember, right? No, that's a separate thing. No, it's not. No, number, no, it's number. All right, like that. Yeah.
Because isNames by itself checks for like the string and stuff. And
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, I thought there was a way to. There was part of the number prototype, but maybe not. So ignore that last bit, right? I mean, that's still valid, of course. Cool. Any questions?
You can in the map function just type in parsing.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. Whenever you get that structure, guys, map, you get an argument, and then you invoke a function that receives the same argument. In reality, there is a shorthand. You can do that. Which is pretty sexy, right? Essentially, we're transforming an array of whatever into an array of numbers, or not a numbers. Right, but it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work?
It's around it. Is it because of the comments?
Oh yeah, that's weird, right? Comments shouldn't affect the solution. Okay, let me put this back. No, not really. No, it's not working. Interesting. That should work, guys, but I cannot tell you at the moment why it doesn't work.
It's returning 10. We need to return
Yeah. But why it returns 10? It's not. It's something's going on. Anyway, cannot tell you at the moment, guys. So yeah, in worst case, that will work. Right. So let's move to question number 2 because otherwise we will run out of time. So that's trivial, right? That's a gift. That's Friday gift. Get sorted array. So we have a list of numbers. How many arguments do we have? Wrong. Wrong. It's a variable. We don't know. Could be 3, could be 4, could be 1. We don't know, right? So how can we gather all the arguments? Correct. With the rest parameter, right? Dot, 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 scores. So then, what type of data scores is? It's an array, correct. Because it's an array, how can we sort an array? Like that, right? Because this is pretty simplistic. We only have an array of numbers. We can just do that, and then it works. If we had to deal with the details, you will tell me score A, score B. How do we do that? Return what? Score A minus score B. Why A minus B and not B minus A? Correct. A minus B will sort the array ascendingly. B minus A will sort the array descendingly. It works. Cool. Any question? No? All right, question number 3. This is one of the best ones. A classic intermediate question. Get palindromes. You review it? Okay, then, yeah, fantastic. Let's skip it. Count the capital letters. Have you reviewed it? Yes? People is not very convinced, right? I mean, let's do that. Unless you have a bold statement, let's just review it again. How many capitals? That's fairly simple, right? So we have a sentence, and we want to identify how many letters in capital. Capital Q, capital R, capital J, capital S, whatever. Yeah? So we have what's the name of the argument? Sentence. I like that, Nilofer. Sentence. And then return sentence dot what? What? Match. No, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to use a regular expression. What you said?
Split.
Split. Fantastic. Split what, Nilofer?
To split each character.
Each character. Empty space, correct. Yeah, because we want to access each individual character, right? And look at what I'm doing. Before going any further, already, I want to ensure the readability of my code. Okay, I got access to each individual character. And then what? Filter. Interesting. Yeah, I like it. I'll suggest a different approach, but I think filter is pretty nice. So I got filter, and then how do I check if a character is capital or not? Correct, that's correct. E1, character equals character dot to uppercase. And then what? Dot length. What do you think, guys?
You want to exclude spaces as well.
Correct. We may have issues, right? Let's submit it and see what happened. Oh, whoops, you returned 4? What the hell? Why 4? Because we got one capital plus space, space, space. And space, technically speaking, is the same as a capital space, right? It doesn't make sense. So we need to control that. And to control that, as Nilofer suggested, we can add another condition. Character is not an empty space. Does it make sense? See if it works. It does work. Confetti time. I like to change the approach. If you're in a job interview, they will show you that. Complete the exercise.
So we can have the same thing which we put in filter, except we have an accumulator set to 0 and just increment it every time.
All right? So, how will we call the first argument? The accumulator.
Total.
Total, yeah? You know it's a common practice, because of whatever a reason, to call it ACC. If you're in a job interview, I think it's fair to mention this is the accumulator, but you believe that ACC is not a good name because it goes against readability. It's not telling me anything. What I want to do I want to calculate the average, the total? How sexy am I? I don't know. It's not giving you any feedback, right? So as Richard suggested, total, count, I don't know, something like that, right? What's the second argument? Character, I like it. Do we need any third value? No. Any third argument? Not really. Okay. Return what? Total. And we go home, right? Waiting for the offer. Won't happen. Total what? Total plus character plus split plus Brexit. Probably not. No, character is ABC, right? That won't work. Condition. What's the condition, Nilofer? It's the same condition, right? Correct. So the condition is the same. If that's the case, then what? Total plus 1. We increment the total. And otherwise what? Total. We keep it whatever it was, right? Anything else? Correct. We need to initialize total. What's the first value of total? We need to initialize it to 0, right? So that's an alternative to filter and length. And if we run it, it does work. Cool. I strongly recommend you to move away from your comfort zone. We always try to solve the problems in the same way. But I think it's very interesting to try different approaches, especially because you'll have to deal with people that follow different approaches. So that will give you resilience and flexibility towards problem solving. All right, any questions, guys? No? All right, so question number 5. Oh, some of you struggle on that one, right? Get camel case words. Interesting. I like this one. So we're going to return a comma-separated list of camel case words, right? And a word will be camel case if it has any capital character at any position apart from the beginning. Yeah? Because if we have a capital at the beginning, what's the name of the case? Pascal case. That's correct. Yeah? We got camel case. All right, so how do we do that? Well, look at my approach. First of all, the argument, which is sentence. So what I'll do is return sentence. First of all, I want to inspect the words. So how do I get an array of words? Split, empty string,
Space.
space, correct. Then I need to do something. I want to keep the list of camel case words. Could be more than one, right? Look at this example. Filter, no, not map, because map will give an array of the same size. We want to filter as Richard suggested, right? So dot filter, we'll see what to do there. You can say I'm not following a chronological order. I'm first of all creating the structure. And then what? Join, comma space, right? So now all the responsibility is in here. I'm narrowing the problem. So look at what I'm doing. That's the word, and I can do all the complexity here. However, I'm going to create another function. Is camel case. You see how readable it is, right? So then function is camel case. So now I'm assuming that part is fully correct, apart from the semicolon, and I can focus on a simpler problem, which is to identifying whether a given word is camel case or not. And how do we know if a word is camel case? Of course, I can add a regular expression and then prove that I copy the solution from Stack Overflow, or I can build it by myself. Word dot split. I want to access each individual character. And now, that's the tricky part. What? Find.
So if we find any letter that is that has a capital, then we'll return true. Otherwise, it returns something, so it's falsy.
Interesting. That's a good idea.
We also slice it, so then we ignore the first letter.
Slice one.
Or we could use reduce, or we could use many different approaches. I like find. So find, I got a character, and then character equals, correct? Anything else?
So that would be false if I guess.
We what?
That would return characters, or it would return undefined. So if it returns a character that's true, if it returns undefined as falsely.
But what happens if we got a Pascal case word? Not sure if that's the case. Look,
Before the split, we should splice it on, after the split, we should splice it on one.
splice of one. Okay, we could do that. Or can we do that?
We could check the index, yeah, and see if the index is equal to 1.
Index is not 0, and something like that, right?
It's an easy way.
Okay.
You take out please, whole fine number. So basically remove index.
Remove index, yeah?
So and parentheses as well.
Yeah?
So remove all that please.
Yeah?
So char is not equals to char dot lowercase, to lowercase. So char
Yeah?
is not equals to
It's not equal to?
char dot to lowercase.
All right. But you haven't changed anything, right?
Just easy that way.
It's easier.
It's more readable.
Well, that's very opinionated, right? I always find negation more complicated.
Pascal case stuff.
And also don't forget, you need splice as well for that one.
So that means we still need to handle the first one, right? Cool.
You have to splice it as well beforehand, yeah.
Let's see if it works. It does work. It does work. So, also, we can remove the first character, something like that. Like get rid of the first one, and then, yeah, happy times. Up to you. It depends on your appetite. So, can we do?
Regular expression.
Say again?
The regular expression match.
Yeah, of course. There is a simpler way to do that using a regular expression. But, again, if you got that problem as part of an unattended test on a job interview, and I'm the interviewer and I've seen you use match, all my questions during the face-to-face will go to prove whether you know regular expressions or whether you copy that from Stack Overflow. So only use regular expressions if you don't have to Google them. Yeah, it could be the case, right? You may know how to do that, and that's fine. I don't know how to do that without going to Google. I will understand that after going to Google, but I don't want to copy-paste from the internet because I don't have control. I prefer to write more, but have a fully understanding about how everything works, right? Very personal. All right.
Genuine question.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird one. What if you know how to use the regular expression in the question which was given to you,
Mm.
but you just didn't know what extensions put on the end, like, you know, we have G for global,
Mm.
so you had to know that.
Mm.
Would that still be a bad thing? You knew which regular expression to use,
Mm.
and you knew what it did.
Mm.
You just didn't know that, I think it's flag.
Yeah, flag, yeah.
You just didn't know which flag to use for that specific.
So that means the solution is wrong because you forgot to add Y, I, or whatever.
Yeah, what I mean is, what if you looked it up,
Yeah.
is that a bad thing on Newsfeed? Because you said that it was a bad thing if you look it up,
Yeah.
but you knew why you were using that regex, and you knew what it was for, you just didn't know what flag to use.
So you know most of the regex except for the little part.
Yeah.
So you just have to check up the little thing or reference it.
Again, there is nothing right or wrong as far as you can defend it.
Okay.
Yeah? So, I'm not against regular expression, don't get me wrong, I love them. But just be careful, just be careful. Because the more junior you are, the less likely you are to use regular expressions. Likely. But hey, if you feel comfortable using them, go for it. All right, guys, we got 22 minutes. So, do you want to do a bit of expert? Yes, fantastic, let's do that. At least one question, ideally two.
Maybe the last one.
What's the last one?
Based on recursion.
Tested arrays, how many
Mm, look. Oh. You want to do this one? The thing is, the reason why I don't want to do this one is because this is one of the most complicated ones. And my goal here is to help people moving from intermediate to expert. Because if that's your only problem, you got the blue tick, right? We can do that later on if you want, but I prefer to do the first or the second. Okay, let's do second because it's a bit simpler. So the second question, and actually that's the only reason where that was the main penalty for Richard today, right? On the accuracy, he failed 1 or 2 times, which is unacceptable. So let's have a quick look. That's fairly simple, actually. So divide by next number. So we got a string, and then we want to return a number, yeah? And how do we build this number? Well, we have to divide each number by the next one. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. Drop it there. And I think with the last one, we should return it as it is, right? And that's it. We should run the result. 4 divided by 3, 1. 3 divided by 8, 0. 8 divided by 1, 8. and then 1. Yeah? So, we don't even have the function created, so let's do that quickly. Function, blah, blah, blah. So, how will we call the argument? Number?
String numbers.
Ah, like that. If I call it number, I may be tempted to add number plus 2, right? That won't work. String number or string num or whatever. Yeah? Readability. So then, return. All right, I want to access each individual digit on the string number. Split, I like it. Split empty string, right? And then what? Because I want to deal with mathematical operations, I need to divide numbers. I want to make sure I'm dealing with pure numbers. So I want to transform each string number into a number. How we do that? Map it like that, right? So then I move from an array of string numbers into an array of numbers. And then, once I got that, I need to do something. And after doing something, I still have an array. So I need to transform it into, at some point, do something. At some point, I got something like that. Yeah, and I want to transform it into 23. Actually, that's a good example. I was yesterday night at Wimbledon. I was at the seat number 23, and I had David Beckham nearby. Also, because he's been using number 23 in his career, right? Oh, sorry about that. It's going to be a bit unrelated, right? Cool, 23. So, how do we transform an array of numbers into a number?
Map them into strings and then join them by mapping and then.
No, I don't want to map again. I want something simpler. I don't want to iterate.
Oh, so not reduce items?
No. No. I don't want to use reduce, map, filter, find.
Because you could also do reducing by magnitude.
Yeah, of course, I can do many things, right? But I don't want to. I give you a hint. Does it help? Say it again? Ah, nice. We can do that. So we got a string, and then how do we transform from a string that represents a number into a pure number?
Number or passing.
Correct. We can do that. We can surround everything, number like that. Still, we still got this step missing, right? Which is to divide numbers. But still, apart from that, we can do number, we can do parse int. What's the difference between number and parse int? That's a classic job interview question as well.
The whole thing. Passing will check on the first part as a number and ignores the rest as a string.
Correct. Parse int is more powerful. Because if parse int is 10 pixels, it will identify where the number is, as far as it's on the left of the expression. However, number won't be able to deal with complex variables. Which one will you use? I like that, Patrick. Yes. Number is 99% of the time much better. Because if you use parse int, it looks like you have something weird and you need some extra power to get the number. But if you know you got 23, it's number, right? And also, also, very, very, very important, because number is way simpler, it's much more performant, it's much faster. That's another reason, right? So don't use parse int unless you have a very strong reason. Like we saw before, right? You remember? We got that. In here, it makes sense to use parse int, but that's a bit exotic. That's not the type of data you deal with. So if you're sending an unattended test or you're doing a job interview and you do parsing, that smells, right? So don't use it. Number. However, I don't even want to use number. I'll show you a trick. Correct. Plus is a shorthand of number. A bit more readable, right? Maybe. Again, you may disagree on that. So that's what we got. So now, finally, what do we need to put here? We got an array of numbers. So we got 2 and 3, and we want to return.
I think it started as 6 and 3.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. We got 6 and 3, and what do we want to return? 2 and 3.
Another map.
Correct? We could use reduce easily, but look, we have an array of 2 elements. We want an array of 2 elements. Map, right? So you'll tell me, I'm not going to do that. Map what? Number. We need the index, maybe, yeah. And then the array, maybe, yeah. And then what?
If we're at the end of the array,
How do we know if we are at the end of the array?
index equals array length minus 1.
Array what?
Dot length minus 1.
If we're at the end of the array, return what? Number, correct. Else, return what? Math.floor. Why floor? It may work, but if you use floor, I will complain. Why are you flooring? The result must be rounded. There are no references to use floor, right? So, how we do that? Round, yeah. And then what?
Number divided by array, number of modules and
Modulus, no, it's not modulus, right? Sorry. Index plus 1. What do you think?
Do you still need dot map number because you added the plus? Do you still need it?
Do we still need what?
You still need the map as a number because
That one?
yeah. Do you still need that?
well, in the second one with the operation on strings.
You can remove that, but then probably you need to add it here and on the right hand side as well.
Oh, I see. I didn't need it for mine.
Yeah, because the thing is, modern JavaScript, if you divide string 6 by string 2, modern JavaScript understands what to do, right? But smells, right? So we transform to number, and then we know we deal with numbers, so then we can divide, multiply, whatever. What do you think, guys? Will this work or not? It should work. Let's have a look. It does work. Yeah? So
Sorry, can we repeat why we're using number on line 2? So that's a shorthand for number.
yes, because if we don't put the plus, we'll return, look,
Return the number as a string.
return the number, even though it's impossible to see that 23 is a string. Is a string 23 equal to number 23? No, because we're doing strict checking. That's why we need to transform the result into a number. That's why we use plus. Make sense? All right, because we've got 9 minutes left, let me do the first question, which is related. Just a way to prove if we fully understood that or not. It's similar, it's fairly similar. Is divisible by previous digit. We have a number, and we want to see if each digit can be divided by the previous one. Something like that. Let me read the instruction, I don't remember. Check if each digit is divisible by the digit on its left. Yeah. So the first one should be compared against the last one. But be careful, because we just look after the integer part. We don't care about the decimals. Yeah? That's related, slightly more complicated, but pretty much the same thing. So, arguments. How we call that? Number. I like it, because it's a number, right? It's a pure number. Or a float number, if you want to be more precise. So then, return. How do we keep the integer part? Correct. Here, Richard is right. We can use map.floor, because map.floor will simply return the integer part. So, return math.floor number, and then Again, it's the same idea, right? We want to access one after the other, and then for each one return something else. So, how can we iterate on each digit? To string, that's correct. Remember, because that's a number, we need first of all convert it to a string, and then split. Yep, that will return something like that. 7,3. Yep. And then something else. Again, we'll see in a minute where the chicken is.
Can we use loop, for loop?
You can use whatever you want. Yeah. If it works, you can do whatever you want. I'm just not a big fan of for loops because the code is harder to maintain. Here, look at the sequence. Return A.B.C.D. I find it more readable, but again, maybe something personal. All right, and then what? After splitting, that means that we got something like that. Let me show you. 7, 3, 3, 2, what else? 7, 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2. We want to essentially get false, false, true, false, true. So what's next? Correct. It's the same thing again. We have an array and we want another array, right? So then let's use map. We can use reduce, we can use many things. But if something works with map, use it. Even simpler. And then what? Number? What do you think about number? Character. Yeah, I got Richard's point, and I agree with him. This is not a number. It's a string number. Be careful. Or, can we do that again? So now, boom, we deal with numbers. Oh, I love that. Look. Oh, so sexy. Right. So, yeah, now, and then what? Return what?
Probably want the array as well, so we can get the arrays done.
Okay, fantastic. Array, and then what?
So if we are, if index is, yeah, we don't need the array now. Because we're checking if we're at the start. If we're at the start, we divide by the one at the end.
Correct.
Oh, yes.
Can anyone tell me, apart from Richard, how do we know if we are at the start or not?
So when I'm starting, sorry,
Start the array.
I'll index equals 0.
Correct. So if index equals 0, then what?
Return the last of the array. So array dot length minus 1.
Array dot length minus 1. What do you think? And else array dot length plus 56. What do you think? Probably not, right?
The question is to return the previous index, I think. So therefore, if array got length minus 1, then index minus 1. Return the previous. Should return the previous index. I think.
If index is 0, that means we are here. We need to determine whether 7 can be divided by the last element, 2.
So basically, with the first element, or first array, sorry, index, we will go back. Yeah. We will go back to the last index. That's okay. Array of length minus 1. If not, then index minus 1 array equals previous index.
Don't forget you've got the number. You've got the number of the you use that.
Number is 7. How do we access number 2? That's the first thing. That's right. So we know 7. How do we access the last element on the array?
So array of length minus 1.
Correct. Array dot length minus 1, right? So in other words, here we're going to see if number, the modulus of dividing number by array dot length minus 1 is what? Correct. Equals 0. If it's 0, that means it's divisible. Is 7 divisible by 2? Correct, because as Patrick says, the remainder is 1. So it will return false. Is 3 divisible by 7? And it's 3 divisible by 3? Correct. False, false, true. And what happens if index is not 0? What do we need to divide? Number divided by what? How do we access the previous element on the array? Index minus 1? Ah, sounds better, right? Give me the element on the array on the previous index. Let's see if it works, first of all. I'm not completely happy with that, but let's see if it works. Correct. Equal, 0. You're right. All right. What happened here? It does work, right? Which is a good starting point. However, I'm not a big fan of these operations that repeat again and again because, you know, these two lines are pretty... These two lines are fairly similar, right? So, what I will do is I will create a variable, pre-index. So if index is 0, then else index minus 1. You get my point? First of all, I want to get the previous index. Why? Because now that complexity gets massively simplified. Look, return, number, modulus, array, prep index. That's it. So we can get rid of that. And of course, you can move that to a new line. You know all these things already, right? All right. Still works. Any questions? I strongly recommend you to start dealing with these expert exercises. You can see it's not that complicated compared to intermediate. It requires a bit of logical thinking. Cool. That was it from my side, guys. Thank you.